When you're standing on a dock, trying to decide whether today's outing is worth the early alarm, the biggest worry isn't just the weather, it's whether the electronics you're about to install will actually make a difference on the water. I've spent a lot of time reading forums, watching anglers talk through their setups, and comparing a handful of chart plotters that promise crystal clear sonar and seamless navigation. The goal of this review is simple: give you a clear picture of what the Garmin ECHOMAP UHD2 74sv with GT54 Transducer really does for a typical small boat or kayak fisherman, and help you decide if it's worth the price tag for your own boat. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the problem most buyers face. You've got a boat, you have a budget, and you know you need a fish finder, but the market is full of devices that either overpromise on ultra-high definition while delivering a screen you can't read in bright sunlight, or they're cheap enough that the sonar is spotty and you end up guessing what's under the water. The UHD2 sits in that middle ground where the price is higher than a basic unit but lower than a full-size multifunction display. The real question is whether the extra features like the built-in Navionics Plus charts and the Wi-Fi connectivity actually translate into better outings, or if you're just paying for flash. The first thing I noticed when I unboxed the UHD2 was the 7-inch touchscreen. Garmin's claim about sunlight-readable isn't just marketing jargon. The screen uses a high-brightness panel that stays legible even when the sun is directly overhead. In a real-world test on a midsummer morning, I could see the depth readings and chart details without squinting or having to shade the screen with my hand. That matters because most anglers spend most of their time looking at the water, not fiddling with settings, so a clear display reduces the distraction factor. The included GT54 transducer is another area where the package delivers practical value. It supports Garmin's traditional single-beam sonar, ClearV for a more detailed view of fish arches, and side-V scanning for structure on the sides of the boat. In practice, that means you can start with a simple depth readout while you're pulling in from shore, then tap a button to switch to ClearV when you drop a line and want to see those fish shadows more distinctly. I tried the side-V mode on a shallow lake with a lot of vegetation. It gave a decent sideways view of submerged trees, which helped me avoid snagging my lure. The trade-off, however, is that the GT54 is a single-frequency unit. So while it does a respectable job on most freshwater and coastal saltwater scenarios, it won't match the depth penetration of a dual-frequency or 200 kHz unit on deeper offshore waters. If you're planning to spend most of your time in lakes under 50 feet or near the coast, the GT54 is more than adequate. If you're targeting big offshore game beyond 200 feet, you'll feel the limitation. One of the standout conveniences is the built-in Wi-Fi. Garmin lets you pair the Chartplotter with its smartphone app, so you can back up waypoints, share sonar snapshots, and even push updates to the unit without plugging in a cable. In a recent trip, I was on the water with a friend who didn't bring his own device, and I was able to send him a waypoint to a promising baitfish hotspot right from my phone. The connection held up nicely even when the boat's motor was running, which is something a lot of users worry about. The downside is that the Wi-Fi can be a bit finicky when you have a lot of devices trying to connect simultaneously. I found that keeping the phone as the sole client gave the most stable link. The UHD2 also integrates Garmin's Navionics Plus coastal charts directly into the system. For anyone who navigates coastal inlets, estuaries, or even large lakes with detailed shoreline data, that integration saves you from having to buy a separate chart subscription or load external files. In my experience, the charts are accurate down to the level of small channels and sandbars that many generic maps miss, which helped me avoid a shallow spot that would have grounded my kayak. That said, the Navionics Plus data is U.S. coastal only. If you fish in the Great Lakes or in international waters, you'll need to purchase additional chart packs, which adds to the overall cost. Now, who should actually buy this unit? If you're an avid weekend angler who already owns a small to medium-sized boat, spend a fair amount of time on lakes or nearshore coastal waters, and you want a device that combines a solid fish finder with reliable navigation, the UHD2 hits a sweet spot. It's especially attractive for people who are already in the Garmin ecosystem. If you have a Garmin watch, a VHF radio, or a forced trolling motor, the ability to wirelessly sync routes and motor controls creates a cohesive setup that feels less like a collection of disparate gadgets and more like a unified system. On